Hey everybody, hope you're all doing well. My name is Steven and this is the Storytime channel. Today we have some malicious compliance stories and our first story of the day is by When Fandom Strikes. Bigoted Dude gets arrested because he thinks a woman can't fix computers. Back in 2006, I worked for one of those big box stores that had an IT desk, formerly known as a Nerd Herd, where people could bring devices in to get serviced if there was a problem. We were located in Columbus, Georgia, which is right over a bridge from Phoenix City, Alabama. This is important because where our store was placed, we would normally get a lot of servicemen and women coming up from Fort Benning who were generally pretty cool. But we would also get folks, mostly from Alabama, who were, let's just say, slightly unfavorable to folks of a certain skin color or gender. No offense to those who live in Alabama who are totally awesome, you know who you are. Now, I'm a 5'1" girl who, at the time, weighed a total of 120 pounds soaking wet. I was practically a hobbit. I was also one of the lead technicians in the department. I was the one the new hires went to if they were confused or couldn't troubleshoot certain problems. The team I worked with was amazing. The general manager of the store was great, and the supervisor of my department was the man. I would regularly go out for drinks with these people. One of the best places I've ever worked, even though it was retail. One day, I'm working the counter to check customers in and do evaluations and diagnostics to give an estimate of what the repair price would be. In comes, let's call him Joe. He's wore a cutoff t-shirt, worn denim jeans, and a baseball cap with a Confederate flag on it that just barely covered his business in the front, party in the back haircut. I am not one to judge on looks. I've had plenty of people come in looking exactly the same way this guy did who have been an absolute delight to work with. Never judge a book by its cover, kids. But I still have my defenses up just in case. I really hoped it wasn't going to go the not-so-friendly route. I was unfortunately wrong about Dear Joe. Joe walks up to the counter with his PC tower and practically slams the unit on the desk. "I need this fixed, it's broken." "Okay, sir, let me have a look and I'll see if I can—" Joe cuts me off and stares at me with a disgusted look on his face. "Excuse me? If you give me a moment, sir, I'll be able to look at your computer and—" "Oh, heck no!" It was at this point that I realized where this was inevitably going to go wrong. "Unfortunately, sir, I won't be able to give you an estimate if you don't let me diagnose your computer." "There is no way in heck a woman knows about computers. I'm not letting you touch my computer. Get me the manager." Oh yes, I thought. This is going to be freaking awesome. I'm sure he wanted to talk to the general manager of the store, but I couldn't resist. Cue malicious compliance. I could have pulled the "I'm the manager" thing because I was one of the senior staff, but my direct boss was actually out back working on repair projects and I couldn't help but get excited about how this was going to go down. Me, as lovely as sweet tea, "Of course, sir. Right away, sir." Mike, my supervisor, the guy who ran our department, and not the general manager of the store, was elbow deep in a motherboard replacement when I walked in and gave him the biggest crap-eating grin. "Hey Mike, there's a guy out there asking for the manager." He looks at me confused because he was just supervisor, but I then proceeded to tell him exactly what was waiting for him out front. His face split into the brightest smile. He then proceeded to walk out to the front. Have I mentioned that Mike is a 6'3", 280-pound black man who looked like he could eat a Mack truck for lunch? He was such a big, lovable teddy bear. We all adored him. The moment Mike stepped out, the customer freaked. Mike says, "Hello, sir. I hear there's a problem." Joe lost it. It started with a "freak no" before devolving into a racist tirade that I have never witnessed in my life. I'm from Massachusetts, so this was awful yet amazing to watch. Like a car crash. I just couldn't look away. Not that we have no racism in the Northeast, but dang. Joe kept screaming using the nastiest slur, you know the one, over and over again while staff and customers alike watched in blatant horror. Security ended up having to come over to try and calm the man down. Our entire security team was black as well, so naturally Joe went even more crazy. Eventually, the police had to be called because the man was threatening me, calling me a runt with a C and a witch, and threatening security and my boss using that word that is not okay. My general manager got called out of his office and immediately called the police to have the man removed. God bless whichever dispatcher who received the call was, because they dispatched 2 black officers to the scene. Me and my general manager were literally the only white people involved in this train wreck, aside from Bigoted Joe, and I watched with unbridled glee as Joe was cuffed and taken away by the police. Watching Joe foam at the mouth as he was dragged away made my whole week. Thank you for the entertainment, Bigoted Joe. So if you found yourself in that situation watching Joe break out into that tirade right there in front of Mike, do you think you would be the kind of person to sit back and watch like a car crash like OP? Or do you feel you're the kind of person that would immediately go straight for the phone and try and get some police down ASAP? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next story is by Anony Mouse B315. Neckbeard tries to buy inferior parts to keep money for the build. Malicious compliance intervenes. Since my last story went over so well, I guess I will share another story from my time at Macro Point. Now, some people believe the customer is always right. This is a problematic belief. The truth is, most of the time, customer is an entitled jerk, but you're supposed to perform admirably anyway. This gets harder when you're dealing with anyone who thinks they know something that they do not. So a guy comes into my department and I greet him at the carpet. I tended to be Johnny on the spot whenever someone came in. Welcome to our build-your-own department. I'm OP. What are we putting together today? The man scoffs at me and says, "A computer, obviously." All attitude. He was neckbeard wearing a My Chemical Romance shirt, pants so tight that he had a mushroom top, and mismatched shoes. This was obviously on purpose as both shoes were clean, just didn't fit his look. I didn't take much time examining him. My dad had always told me I gotta get the measure of a man with a glance and look him in the eye the whole time. He literally used to test us on this crap. Turn, look, then tell him what cars we saw in that split second. I was decent enough at it, but not great. I instead would tell myself little lyrics on the fly to remember key details. It's become a life habit. I explain this to point out that I wasn't staring at his look, so I'm pretty sure the snickering hens in the general section who didn't work for us were the source of his ire about being judged about his look. He took my smile as me thinking something funny. I feigned ignorance like I didn't hear him, and then when he asked again, I apologized and asked him to speak louder. Told him I was hard of hearing. This relaxed him a bit, thinking I couldn't possibly have heard the hens giving him the business. I did, but I wasn't going to show it. With an attitude, he handed me a list and leaned forward shouting, "I don't want to be sold nothing. Here's what I need, go get it." I look at the list and it's pretty thorough. Names of items and SKU numbers. I'm like, bet. This looks like a full build, good money, though a lot of them I identify as cheaper parts. I tell him it'll take me a few minutes and invite him to take a look around in case he sees anything else he might need. He rudely says he'll wait there and he ain't buying crap else, so don't try none of my snake oil salesman crap. I smiled and say, "Oh no, but it's so good for the joint and muscles." He didn't think it was funny, so I just walked away and got his stuff. Halfway through grabbing his items, I realized that he only looked at prices and not what each thing did. His build had an AMD processor, but he wanted an Intel board. The case he wanted was slim and the video card he wanted would not fit, he needed a lower profile. Though the Intel board had integrated graphics, so I was sure why he picked a card. Also, the power supply he wanted was of lower quality and wattage than the one that came with the case. All in all, I was compelled to ask what the heck he was trying to build. I gathered everything quickly and brought it up, going over each piece with him and getting his approval. I then asked him if all of this was for the same build, which he replied with a something smart like, "Wow, how observant of you," or something like that. I smiled and tried to inform him that some of these parts would not work together, but he simply cut me off. "Listen, I don't need you to try to upsell me. I've been building computers for a while. I know what I'm doing." He did not, and I wanted to question that validity of his claim. I asked him then if he would like to hear about our return policy just in case. He got belligerent, telling me he knows what he's doing and how dare I treat him like he's stupid just because of the way he looked. Granted, he did look stupid, but I think his ire was more for the cute girls giving him crap and some insecurity versus anything I said. Alrighty, you are not interested in our return policy or our extended warranty policy, right? I confirmed. We are supposed to ask about the warranties with everyone, but I figured he was not going to take kindly to that, so all I wanted to do was cover my bases. Warranties are for suckers. Do I look like a sucker? He snapped. Yes, he did, but I wasn't going to say that. I just smiled at him and asked if I could double check his list to see if I got everything. I whipped out my phone and took a picture of everything, along with the list. I knew most of this was coming back, and let him go about his day. I didn't even sticker it. I knew what was coming. 2 days later, Neckbeard shows back up, muffin top, 2 different pairs of shoes, and an anime shirt that made Goku look like he had a fisheye head. He looked embarrassed and angry. He had with him someone who I at first thought was his girlfriend, a little Latino woman who I was certain was either blind or a gold digger, but turned out to be his sister. Absolutely no resemblance. She was friendly and told me she was trying to build a gaming computer to play Crysis. I was a little incredulous, young, and to be honest, at that time, did not think girls played games like that. So I turned to him and said, "Crysis?" And he shrugged. Little lady stepped up and reiterated herself with a bit of friendly mocking because she knew what I was thinking. Apparently she got crap for being a gamer girl. I just shrugged and told the truth. There was no way in heck that the previous build was gonna play Crysis very well. The brother, whom I'm gonna call Neckbeard from here on out, had an attitude. He said yeah and handed me another list, this one similar to before. He made no explanation for his previous mistake and just told me to get the new items along with the same line about not upselling him. I looked at the list and knew right away that build wasn't going to play that game very well. I mean, I could get him there with a $1,500 build, barely. But this was something like $900 and that video card, don't remember what it was not gonna cut it. I told him so, and that maybe he should look at the game specs online, which would help him make a better decision. He told me he had done his homework and to just get what he said. I looked at his sister, pleading, and told her that I could come up with a system that was both affordable and would run the game decently. He interjected and got mad, threatening to get another salesperson. And I said okay, but I knew his butt would be back again. As I'm getting his stuff, I hear him, away from his sister, on the phone. He's telling someone that he wants to finish this up and get the build done. Apparently his parents had allocated some money for this and he was trying to get a cheap system so he could keep the rest of the money. A real D-bag move, but not my problem. I gathered what he asked for and sent them on their way. Didn't tag this stuff either. It was either coming back or could go to the pool. I saw Neckbeard 2 days later with little sister in tow and his parents. He was not dressed like a disaster that day. His parents did all the talking. There was no list. They told me that they'd trusted their son to get this done because he was good with computers, but the game wasn't working properly and they were trying to get everything together for their daughter's birthday, which had apparently passed after the first time I met Neckbeard. The parents then told me they only had $3,000 to spend on this computer. They'd looked up the average price of high-end gaming rigs and wanted to buy an Alienware, but were convinced by their son to build it themselves, possibly so he can control what they spent. $3,000? This man was trying to snake his parents out of like $2,000 with these crappy builds. They told me to put together something that would work. And I smiled at Neckbeard and said, "With a $3,000 limit?" They confirmed and I grinned. Cue malicious compliance. I tell them I can definitely do that and ask if they want to come with me and discuss each part, piece by piece, and why I think they need it for the game. I go with them and I build a $3,000 system. Neckbeard is losing his crap. Why do we need this? Why do we need that? But no one will listen to him because of his previous failures. I built a system that I'd be proud to own. and got it around $2,700 and then explained the warranty and how they could have us build it and have parts and labor on that warranty. Of course they took it. Neckbeard was pissed because we went a little over, and I even talked his parents into getting a boss monitor for the game. These I certainly stickered. If Neckbeard hadn't been such a jerk, I'd have built him a system that could play the game, and he would have been able to go about his fiendish plan and keep his parents' change. Instead, he got nothing, and his sister got a build that she loved and a case that she apparently always wanted, a white N-Tech with purple fans. Moral of the story is, don't be a jerk to your salesman. Tell them what you want and need and they will accommodate most times. Or at the very least, know what the heck you're doing. If he'd known computers like he'd claimed, this wouldn't have been an issue. Either way, I'm glad things didn't work out for him, and this time, there were no returns. Okay, so to be fair, this guy obviously didn't know enough about computers to build a computer that could reliably play Crysis at that time. That said, I would still be in the same boat as the guy in the case of buying a computer from a location. Most of the time, if you're buying any kind of pre-built or assembled computer, you're going to end up paying some kind of markup price. Honestly, the best solution would have been if the sister was so interested in having a computer like that, they themselves should have done enough research to know what kind of computer they should have built. Either way, I'm glad that the neckbeard in this story didn't get away with all that money being a jerk like that. And our final story of the day is by Mr. Vaudry. Micromanager? You better check on me then. I was a janitor at an enormous church in an American suburb. The campus was large enough to have 12 bathrooms, several acres of carpet, and miles of hallways across 3 to 4 floors. It was typical on weekdays, when there weren't thousands of people there to attend a church service, to only give the bathrooms a light clean. Check the mirrors for spots, flush the toilets, restock the paper towels and tissue, and pull the dirty paper towels out of the trash with gloves without changing the bag. A teammate, Alex, had just been promoted to shift manager and was apparently looking to flex his newfound power. I got a radio call. Alex says, "Come in." I say, "Go ahead." "What's your 20? Location. Just finished the 390 restrooms. Can you meet me at the 219s? It's clear on the other side of the building, so I hustle over there. You didn't change this trash bag, there's gum in it. You couldn't just change the bag and tell me later? You have the key. Do it right and this won't be a problem. Next one, I write you up. Disciplinary action. If Alex was a welcome teammate before this, I'd have let it go. But he was a sexist jerk to his girlfriend, also a janitor, and he was equally micromanagey to other people on the shift. So we all hatched a plan. Throughout the shift, we'd listen to radio calls to figure where he was. When we finished a job on the other end of campus, we'd radio him to come see something. "Okay, I'm here, what's up?" Janitor says, "Before we moved on to the next bathroom, we wanted to make sure the mirror's clean enough. How is it?" "You had me hike across campus for that? It's fine." "Well, I don't want to be written up, so I want to make sure the work is up to your standard of quality." Other janitor over radio, "Alex, can you meet me in other wing? We have an important question for you." Back and forth, back and forth. We all just really needed his expert advice to avoid disciplinary action. Alex got the point, but was too afraid of conflict to directly name the insubordination. He stopped micromanaging after 1 4-hour shift. You gotta be glad that at least Alex was able to pick up on why people were acting the way they were acting and making him do the ridiculous stuff they were making him do. A lot of these micromanagery people would just never be able to understand what they're doing wrong and never get the hint and think that they were doing no wrong. So all's well that ends well. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So if you have a favorite story of the day, let me know which story and why in the comments down below. But besides that, if you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like, and if you haven't, subscribe and turn notifications on so you'll never miss an upcoming video. No matter what you do, whether it's just viewing the video, liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, I appreciate the heck out of it. Every little thing that you do helps the channel grow that much more, and I can't thank you enough for it. So until next time, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll be right here next time on the Storytime channel.